Hello, I'm not on my own today. Naomi will be here any minute now. She's stuck on the phone. This is Facebook Live for the infant feeding team on Thursday the 15th of July. And we've had a 2-week break, so I'm hoping there's going to be lots of you popping up with loads of lovely questions. We've just been really busy in clinic. We've had between us about 7 mums come through clinic this morning, which is quite busy because we give every mum an hour of our time. And hopefully they've gone home feeling a bit happier about how things are going. So I'm hoping I can see some lovely faces coming up on my, you pop up there and I can see you coming up. So think about those questions you want to ask. So we were thinking about things that we want to talk to you about, and always so much. There's so many things we'd love to cover. It's just such a wide, varied world when it comes to feeding. There are so many aspects of it we could be talking to you about. We did wonder when we talk about tongue tie, that comes up quite often and is obviously quite a hot topic. A lot of people talk about it. It's something that we deal with quite a lot in the infant feeding team, and so do the community midwives and the ward midwives and the health visitors. And I know it's something that worries parents tremendously, thinking about tongue tie, that they're worried that their baby is tongue tied. But I think the thing to say about it is to think about, if you're having feeding problems, then it might be a cause. But if you're not having feeding problems and things are getting better, and everyone has to learn how to breastfeed, it's a learnt skill. So if you're in those early days learning how to breastfeed, then give yourself some time. So we tend not to look in a baby's mouth for the first 7 days, because we think, well, it takes time for mum and baby to learn how to breastfeed. So we're not going to go out there looking for tongue ties. What we tend to do is, if there are persisting feeding problems and it's not getting better, we think, well, maybe it could be to do with a tongue tie. And then we do an oral assessment. So for instance, today in breastfeeding clinic, I think I've looked in the mouth of 3 of the 4 babies that I saw, just so that I could say yes or no that they thought this might be a contributing factor. So, you know, it is part of the care that we give, and it's part of what we're thinking about when we're looking at you know, any of you coming through the breastfeeding clinic or needing help from us as an infant feeding team. But I think don't worry unnecessarily that it's a tongue tie, you know. And actually, even if you can see a tongue tie, a frenulum is just a variation on normal. Even if you can see a frenulum, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to cause a problem for you and your baby. So that's a reassurance. But obviously, if it is causing a problem, then we need to do something about it. First and foremost, I would say that we would be thinking about ensuring you have your milk supply. Absolutely work on your milk supply. We talk about that every week. Make sure you've got the milk there to provide your baby. Keep your milk supply going if there's any doubt that your baby might be getting quite enough milk. But don't stress unnecessarily over it. Babies have got time to learn to breastfeed. I can see comments coming up, and I haven't set it up on the computer yet, so let me just find it on here. So just find it and I'll be able to read it from here. We can't both sit in front of the thing. So for those that have just joined us, Naomi will be here shortly. She's on the telephone at the moment. Let's see if we can get on this. Switch to maternity voices. So I'm just putting it up so I can see the questions without having to come right up over there. Just checking. I can see that people have been putting things up. Hopefully you'll see Naomi come through the door any minute now. Right. Right, I'm going to turn the sound off. We don't need me in stereo, that's for certain. Oh, Charlotte was the first person up. Hello, Charlotte. She says, hi, Han. Hope you're well. I have so fantastic news for you. Alicia is having her afternoon nap. Ooh, okay. We'll hold tight on that one then. Bethan has said, hello ladies, I'm a new mum with a 4.5-week-old baby called Keris, exclusively breastfeeding, and it's taken us a bit of a trial and error to get it right. I've had help from a few different healthcare professionals for positioning and attachment, who have said that our attachment is good. However, Keris still frequently, repeatedly pulling away from the breast at the start of the feed and can get quite frantic. At the start of the week, she's also started occasionally choking and spitting up, which she didn't do before. Is there a change in milk supply at 4 weeks? And if so, will things naturally settle down? We also have a problem with gas, which makes Keris very uncomfortable. Do you have any tips for easing gas? Thank you, Bethan. Right, Bethan, I think you covered a few things on there, and congratulations on getting to 4.5 weeks. That's wonderful. Well done. Yeah, to be still doing that when you've had a few problems is fantastic. And it is a case of trial and error when it comes to feeding. It's not simple. It does take an effort. I was saying to a mum earlier this week, it's not easy, but it's worth it. It really is. Remember, what you're doing is fantastic for your baby and fantastic for you. So it is an absolutely amazing thing to be doing for your baby. Thinking about that attachment though, it may be worth just going back to looking at it again. You're mentioning that she's windy, you're mentioning that she's struggling at the breast a little bit, then actually it might be an attachment problem even though you've had people watching. So I'm not sure, you haven't said where you're based, and I presume you've obviously been discharged by the midwives, but you could try something like OBS, or you could do an attend anywhere call with us, just so we can have a look at that positioning attachment, because as we've said many a times on this program, these sessions before, the attachment has such a big impact, and only a millimetre or two in one direction or the other can really affect the way your baby's feeding. So it really might be well worth it, even though lots of people have looked, just to get someone else to have a look. And it could be, you know, so for instance, one of us on Attend Anywhere, so you don't even have to come in, or it could be Oxfordshire Breastfeeding Support or Abingdon Baby Cafe. Any of those places who are really skilled with breastfeeding support would be more than happy to see and help you with feeding. So you could perhaps think about doing that. With regard to wind, so we've talked about this before, babies quite like to have pressure on their tummies if they're feeling windy. So you could try something like this position where you put your baby over your arm and hold them like this. That puts pressure on their tummies and they really like it. And I'll sit on the arm of this sofa so you can see me. The other way you could do is just dangle your baby over your leg. So the pressure on their tummies is really quite nice. They really quite like that. I have to say, personally, as a mum, I would walk around with my children like this quite often. I really like doing it this way. And the other thing you can do is, if they're feeling quite windy, is that you can sort of do their legs like bicycle legs, that you bring them in and round. So you're literally holding their little feet, their ankles, and you're bringing their knees up and into their tummy and bringing it round and bringing it round. So what you're doing is you're helping that digestion, you're helping that digestive system get moving. So that might help with some of the wind and the gas. But you're saying that she's getting a bit unsettled at the breast and windy, would suggest to me that it's still well worth it having another look. What happens is babies grow. So when we have a tiny baby, we plonk them in front of us, and what happens when you get to your bigger baby, you still might plonk them in front of us, and actually what you've got to do is allow for them to come round you. I'm just going to see if I've got a smaller doll with me, but I haven't today. So it's thinking about, you know, your small baby is going to be here, but your bigger baby is going to be coming right round over here and round you, cuddling you, which is what is important. So make sure you're allowing for the fact that your baby has grown. Think about that. You know, we talk about it on here so often. Think about that mouth. So this is the breast. Come closer. This is the breast, and this is the mouth, and we're going to go onto the breast like this. So upper lip just skimming. What happens sometimes is as the baby gets bigger, we find that their head's further over this way. We want to bring them this way. So I use a doll. So rather than, because they're so big and you've put them central in front of you, they're coming too far over here, and actually you've still got to bring them further this way. Always remember, you want your baby to be reaching for the breast. They want to be reaching up for it. So despite it being 4.5 weeks and having had lots of people watching, take a bit, you know, have another look at your positioning and attachment and see if that can help, and think about getting getting someone to have a check and see if things aren't getting any better. I hope that helps, but keep going. You've done a brilliant job, and it does get better. Most mums will say they get beyond the first few weeks and that things start to improve. So hopefully you'll start finding things get a bit better, Bethan. Charlotte's come back. Oh, that was her news. Congratulations, Charlotte. She's having a second baby due next year. Well done. We look forward to meeting you in person maybe when you come through the hospital. We'll have to come and find you. Well done. I'll tell Naomi when she comes in. Oh, and Leanne has said congratulations to Charlotte as well. That's lovely. Alicia's put a question out. Does it matter where baby's cheeks are during breastfeeding? 12-week-old, and I've always struggled with laid back breastfeeding. As for baby's nose to be kept clear, she has to turn her head to the side, meaning one cheek is barely touching the breast, my go-to positions are cradle hold and laid down, so this isn't an issue with these positions, but wanted to try others. We do know that babies, when they're in that upright position, often have a tendency to tip sideways. They do. So let's have a look. So you're going to be in that position. So you're going to have your baby over your legs. That hat's really annoying me today. I'll put my hand over it. And you're going to be holding your baby around their middle and bringing them on. And we do know that sometimes the baby will tip their head. So you might tip them that way or tip them that way. As long as your baby is still feeding well and has got a good mouthful and you are comfortable, I don't think that's a problem. So it's only if that's becoming painful for you or the baby is struggling that you would have to worry. And here she is. Here's Naomi.
Hello.
We were just talking about...
Oh dear, where are you sitting?
I'm sitting here.
All right.
So,
hello everybody.
So
Sorry
got some
about
news.
that.
Charlotte's having a second baby.
Ooh.
Yeah. She's just
The
announced.
debonair did you good. Congratulations.
Yeah. It's really lovely. I've got a cough today. Not a COVID one, I promise.
So I don't know what you're talking about, so I can't take over the conversation. Do you want me to get you
You
drunk?
might have to. I've got one.
Have you?
Yeah. All right, positions.
On positions.
Upright.
Upright positions. Okay. Oh, it's there, Alex.
Thank you.
Oh, we are messing up today, aren't we? It's only 2 weeks off. Have you missed us? So anyway, we're talking about the upright position, and I don't know if you could see that. Let me just stand up. So the whole point is that you are either sitting up, or some people say lean back a little bit. Some babies respond really well to be slightly upright with it. I don't know if you can see. Maybe I'd have to sit here. That's better, isn't it? And allow your baby to come up to the breast. Now, if you hold your baby under their arms, it tends to put their hands in front of their face. So they get in the way. So if you put your hands a little bit lower down, which frightens mums because their heads bob a lot more if they're held from the waist. But actually you find that it's their hands are down and they tend to hold the breast on either side rather than coming in front of their faces. So you might want to lean 45 degrees back, or you sit up a little bit, depending on how your baby manages. But if you're a little bit too far forward, your baby's head will bob a lot more. So this is an easy position. Now you might find that you need to stretch your knee out so that it's lower, or you need to put it on something. It depends where your breasts are in relationship to your knees and your baby as to how they manage. So if you've got a really newborn baby, so in the first 2 or 3 weeks, you might find that this position is a little bit easier. So if it's a much newer baby, it tends to control the bobbing a little bit more. So you're leaning back 45 degrees and your baby then just falls onto the breast, and it's literally got its mouth over the nipple so that it falls onto it. And that, obviously I wouldn't be holding the breast if it was attached. But then your baby will be, so they're literally lying across your breasts and their feet are in your opposite armpit. The rules are that he's face down, not sideways doing it. You need to get your baby face down, and we call it face planting, very original, so that they literally fall onto the breast. So you might find that one easier to start with, and then what happens is your baby's neck gets more control, and after a couple of feeds you might find that you can go to this position because they know what to do and they're not bobbing, but they need to be underneath, so they're sniffing the air when they come up onto the breast, so that they come up from underneath and take the breast into their mouth like that.
So what Alicia had said was that she was finding her baby was tipping its head, so one cheek was up against the breast and the other one was out. And I was saying as long as it wasn't uncomfortable for her and the baby was still doing okay, that didn't matter. So that was Alicia's question, was did it matter? So we were going through the basics, so you've done that, which is brilliant. She said, does it matter? My baby's cheeks are during the breastfeed. She's got 12-week-old now, and that she's been struggling with the laid back positioning because the baby's putting their head to one side. So.
You might want to go on to big baby feeding.
So you mean dropping them into the lap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might find that that's easy because what they want to do...
keep using this arm today.
You know, what they want to do is they want to look around at 12 weeks, don't they? They get really nosy and they rub a neck everywhere. So you might find that they're pulling off all the time trying to see. So you might find sitting up and feeding on your lap, where they can look what's going on around them while they're feeding, is more sustainable for them, and they're more interested in engaging.
So you drop their bottom into your lap. so that their legs come up one side, they're in like a V like this, so their bottom drops and that takes the length, and then you just turn them into you to feed them. So you've just got your pressure on the shoulders like that, can hold the arm and the shoulders, and you literally just turn the body towards you, whereas the bottom's sitting inside your lap with the legs up. So that's a sort of like what we call the grown-up position.
Big boy feeding.
Yeah.
If it's a boy. Big girl feeding. It's a little girl.
Yeah. Let's see what actually we've got in here. So Rachel has said, thanks for all your talks. We've managed to establish breastfeeding well, and our monster is growing at very fast rates. 1.6 kilos so far. Wow.
You're very
With
clever.
oversupply, at what point is it okay to start donating milk without making the problem worse? And would first thing in the morning be the time to collect it? It's always a problem when you have the see more bit on here. We're 4 weeks out so far. If you've got a surplus now, that would be fine. You could start donating. Amanda would love to hear from you. We always have a need for more milk. We are very, very lucky to have a milk bank here, and we're totally reliant on you wonderful people out there for donating. I just had a mum.
It's a gift for women.
Yeah, it is a really fantastic gift for women. And we could always do with more. So absolutely. And many women find first thing in the morning it is a good time to do it. I mean, with regard to your oversupply, I think you would only be donating as much as keeps you comfortable. Don't push your supply. Because if you don't want to have more, probably an oversupply is really debilitating. It means that you get stuck at home, and I think some people might think that having more milk than you need could be a good thing. It isn't. When you're stuck at home, stuck with a pump, unable to go out for any length of time, babies are choking and spluttering at the breast. It's a really hard thing to deal with.
Messy. It's very, very leaky.
Babies very sick, aren't they?
Yeah, it's hard work. It's the same as not having enough, really.
So I think just take off as much as makes you comfortable. Don't push your supply anymore, and anything, assuming that you can collect it. I can't remember, what's the minimum collection amount?
I think it's, was it 6 bottles? No, perhaps a little bit more. I can't remember. I think that you need to just email and she will tell you what it is.
Yeah.
But I think that they would expect you to give probably about a litre. And they will give you the information as to how much you need to give. But you can collect that over a period of time, and then just have it in your freezer, and then somebody comes to the house and picks it up on a courier.
So you need to have a blood test as well. It's the same blood test you had at the beginning of your pregnancy. So it's just checking for all those things that you had checked at the beginning of the pregnancy, like syphilis, etc. So if you contact Amanda Wood, you can find her via the hospital website under the Human Milk Bank, and her contact details are all there, and the forms are there as well, so you can have a quick look at the forms and have a conversation, email or telephone with Amanda, and she'll advise you. But we've been more than delighted, I'm sure, as a hospital.
Very, very, very easy to do. It's very easy to do. It's very streamlined and very well organised, and it's just such a gift. It's such a gift. So they'd be delighted.
Yep. So first thing in the morning, Rachel, would be a perfectly good time to be expressing. Thank you very much. Alexandra said also she's getting a lot of hiccups. Oh, have I missed a question from Alexandra? It starts with an also, so I'm thinking there might be another one. Nope. Okay. Sorry, Alexandra. Getting a lot of hiccups after feeding regardless. If fed by breast or bottle, not sure if this is normal. Well, some babies get a lot, don't they?
They had them inside your tummy as well, so you might remember your baby having that rhythmical hiccup inside you when you were pregnant, and they get hiccups afterwards as well. And quite often feeding resolves it, because they sort of put pressure on when they're feeding. They hold their breath a bit when they feed, and they swallow, breathe, and it puts pressure on the diaphragm and stops the hiccups. So often giving a little bit of a feed, if they'll take it, will support that and may help the hiccups. But it doesn't do them any harm. They just hiccup after feeds.
So Beth has just come back and thanked us for the answer, which is helpful, which is good. It's nice to know that it was useful. Charlotte's popped another comment up. Charlotte said, I've already picked the JR again to have my second baby. Well, I'm glad. As I said, we might be able to go and see you this time, won't we, Naomi? Go and find you. Olivia has said, my baby is now 2 weeks old and I'm breastfeeding but with nipple shields. He was premature, so struggled latching initially, and now will only latch with the shields. I'm happy using them at the moment, but is it too late for him to learn to latch straight onto me? Thank you.
I saw a baby in clinic today who'd been in the neonatal unit and never ever fed at the breast, just had nipple shields. And he had his first breastfeed at 3 weeks today with the nipple shield once, and then he went back to the nipple shields again. They only do it when they're ready. They won't do it in your time, they'll do it in their time. And remember that if that's what they've had, their driver is plastic, so they don't feel familiar with something soft in their mouth if it's the breast without the nipple shield on. So you just have to keep challenging them, and start on the breast and then take it off while they're mid-suckle, not too far into the feed, but when they've got the flow going, and then try again without it to see if they'll just go straight back on and start suckling again when they get the flow and they don't realise. Sometimes doing it in a very sleepy feed, or if you're on the second breast, which is what happened this morning, he wouldn't feed on the first one at all, she wouldn't feed on the first one at all. But she went on to the second breast because she wasn't so hungry, and she fed beautifully without the nipple shield on for the first time. One of the ways we did it was to use sort of a sandwich hold, and so if you're holding the breast quite firmly between your fingers, you make a sandwich. If you can see that, it makes the nipple much firmer, and that sometimes feels like a nipple shield in their mouth. It's much firmer, it's much more familiar to them to have that firmness. So sometimes if you offer the breast like a sandwich, and keep holding it when they get onto the breast until they really get a rhythm of suckling, that will transfer them onto it. But sometimes they won't even tolerate that. They won't think about it until they're ready to. And so you just immediately, if they're fussy with it, give them the nipple shield back.
Yeah.
Go back to the reward for them. Always give them a reward, the nipple shield, and just occasionally keep trying. And eventually they'll do it, but it might be in 8 weeks' time. It might be tomorrow. It's up to them.
It's on their time scale.
But if your baby's gaining weight and you've got plenty of milk, then
Don't
that's
worry about it.
okay.
Yeah.
But if you've got low supply, remember that they get less through nipple shields as well, so feeds tend to be much longer and babies often don't gain weight. So keep an eye on all the things that we always talk about, the suckling and the swallowing, peeing and the pooing, and are they gaining the appropriate amount of weight. And if all those things are okay, then you just keep going and challenge it when you feel that it's right. And make it a positive. Don't make breast aversion because you're trying to get your baby to feed without one.
Yeah.
If they're not ready, they're not ready, and don't push it.
Keep the breast a positive place at all times. Always. Baby gets upset, do something else.
Yeah.
So good luck with that, Olivia. Helen has said, thank you for your advice a couple of weeks ago. The shallow latch and piling on the weight with colic symptoms. I raised some of the things you mentioned to our health visitor, and she arranged a tongue tie check for us. He does have a tongue tie, so we're currently on the waiting list to get that sorted. Unfortunately, it's a 3-week wait. Here for any more hints and tips we might not have tried to get us through the next 2 weeks. Oh,
brilliant. I'm glad to see that you've got that resolved, or getting it resolved. Hopefully it'll be as you want. Go back to your health visitor for support for feeding post-frenulotomy if you need it. Get some good feeding advice, or to the Oxfordshire Breastfeeding support or baby cafe if they've got availability to just get really good position and attachment support. But try your health visitor first.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Good luck with that, Helen.
Yeah.
And we're glad to hear that something came out of it.
Yeah.
And it's really hard when you know you've got to wait. But actually, they're very good. I presume you've been referred to our ENT department here. I mean, if they can get you in sooner, they will. They're very good there. Charlotte said, I would love to meet you both in person when my new baby comes along, and I have a question. Will my partner be allowed to stay with me all through the appointments and scans and labour and afterwards?
So far, so good. We don't know tomorrow. Today, yes, but we don't know what happens tomorrow or the next day. I think for the last quite a long time, partners have been involved in the care. So, and they certainly are coming to clinic with us now. So, I think you just have to keep your eyes peeled on that one as to what's happening in the community and what's happening in the hospitals. We are still in lockdown in the hospital. We're still, applying all the things that we have to apply. It's still very much a pandemic situation in our hospital, and we're acting appropriately. So, as far as we know, partners can come in for appointments at the moment, but it might change.
Fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
Michelle has said, hi ladies, what would you recommend to get baby to take a bottle. Keen to get my husband involved in 1 feed a day. Currently 13 weeks and baby's taken the bottle once successfully and never again. Well, how many times have we heard this?
Horrified by it.
Yeah, they're like, what? What's this?
That's not soft and warm.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating, isn't it?
I've even known babies who were solely bottle fed, then got onto the breast and they wouldn't ever take a bottle again, so, or it took a long time. So, yeah, they know what they like, I'm afraid. I think again goes back to what we were talking about with the nipple shields. Trying when your baby's not hungry, maybe trying that it's not you giving it, not making it a big fight, so sort of just keep it a bit of fun. Don't put too much milk in it because you just want them to get used to the idea of it being in their mouth.
I think maybe you go out. Sometimes if you're not in the room or not in the house, it might be that your little one would try it without you being around. But I think if you're around, they recognise that you're there, and that makes them upset as well. So don't hover because it will upset you too.
Very much.
Let your partner deal with it. If it's really important, if you're going back to work and you have to do it, that's really important. If it's not, then don't push it, because you don't want to create any aversion to feeding. And babies can be very sensitive to that. And some babies don't care what goes in their mouth, and other babies we give a bottle once and they won't touch anything ever again, including the breast. So you don't know till you do it what your baby's going to do. So you've got a baby that doesn't really enjoy having the bottle in its mouth, but it might do next time you try if you're not around. I think it's just periodically keep trying, and if you have to do it, say you've got appointments that you need to go to, you've got something that you have to leave your baby behind, then it's it's much more stressful. If it doesn't have to happen, don't push it, because your baby will accept other foods if it needs to, but it can be very stressful for everybody, so do it carefully. You don't want to spoil your breastfeeding as well.
So I think as it gets back to what we were saying about shields, thinking about maybe when they're just waking up, when they're calm, they're not hungry, all those sort of things will really help. Don't do it when they're desperate for a feed, because that really won't work. Good luck with that, Michelle. That's a tough one.
It is really hard. It's really hard for everybody.
Sophie has said, thanks so much for your talks. I wanted to ask about bigger baby feeding positions, which you've just spoken about. My little boy is 13 weeks and we're still exclusively breastfeeding, and I'm finding him too heavy for the cradle position now, which I loved. I've been trying putting him in my lap like you've just suggested, but then find he has to reach too much to get to my breast. Any ideas where I'm going wrong?
You could put something under your foot, so you could put your foot on a little stool or something, and that will lift your knee up a little bit more, and that might help. Or sit him on a cushion or something like that, that might help you as well, where he's just slightly higher if you need to, and just jiggle it about to adjust it to your positioning, so that he's, you don't have to do it as an exact science, just be a little bit creative and see if he'll take it in another way. He might take a sort of a partially reclining position, so he's not across you like that, but sort of semi across you, and you might find that works better, that he's not really cradled and you're taking the weight on your lap rather than on your arm, more crosswise like that, and then as he's got used to that and he's got a bit bigger, then he might be able to adjust to being on your lap. But you might find sitting on a blanket or putting your foot on a stool or something like that will lift your lap up a little bit more, and that might just raise him up enough to feed successfully. Try it, see.
Yep, I'm just looking down, carrying on down the questions.
We've got lots of questions today,
Yeah,
haven't
we
we?
have.
It's
It's lovely. So Rachel's come back. Rachel was talking about donating. I've had all the testing with colostrum donation. I'm managing without expressing at the moment, so hoping to maybe express once a day for the donation. That sounds like a very good idea, because you don't want to push your supply any more than you do. So just doing it usually first thing in the morning when most women have more milk than they need would be a really good time to do it. So we'll be very grateful for it, Rachel. Very
Mums
grateful.
will be delighted to have the option for it on the wards.
Yeah. Benicia has said, hi there, so I know colostrum harvesting is supposed to be done by hand, but when I do it, I can be going for an hour and only getting 3 or 4 drops. I've tried by hand 2 or 3 times,
already with no luck. Last night I used my LV pump on a very gentle setting, and with stimulation mode I managed to collect 2 mils after 10 minutes. Is there any harm to this? Well, no, I mean, everybody's different. So we don't normally recommend using a pump because the colostrum is so thick and gloopy that actually it just gets lost in the pump kits. But if it worked for you, but I would, just be cautious, don't do too much. But if it worked and you got 2 mils, that's fantastic, absolutely brilliant.
It might be your technique's not quite as good as it could be. I mean, it is very precise sometimes with hand expressing, and it's getting your fingers in the right place and how you're doing it. So I can go through that with you. So you make a C with your finger and your first finger and your thumb, and imagine that you're like a little crab and it's like a pincer action. And take your fingers about 2 to 3 centimetres behind the base of the nipple, and in that pincer action, push back slightly and then pinch your breast. So it's not you're not rubbing like that. You don't want to be rubbing your fingers together on the flat. You want to be pinching like that. And that's very precise into the lactiferous ducts. And so rubbing will make you a bit sore, and it won't actually get the same effect out as if you've got much more precise action where you're actually being very precise with those ducts. So try your technique slightly as well differently. It might be that you just need to be a bit more precise with your fingers, that you're not putting your finger and thumb together and rubbing like that with your finger. You're actually putting your finger directly across the ducts and pushing back slightly, and then like a pinch. It doesn't hurt, it shouldn't hurt, but you're sort of squeezing and holding for about 4 seconds and then releasing, and you work all the way around the breast like a clock face to get all the ducts, and then you go to the other side and do that on the other side. You do a little bit of visualization about your baby, and think nice thoughts, and a bit of massage, perhaps in the shower where you're warm, where you're unobserved, and then go to the other side, and then go back to the first side, and then go back to the second side, and just see if that changes the technique. It might be that you couldn't see what was happening and you were more relaxed. Oxytocin is a very shy hormone, and if you are very stressed or very anxious, it doesn't work. It won't give you milk. And that's the same, if you have anxiety, be aware that it can affect your letdown. So you have to sort of counterbalance it by thinking about things that make you feel lovely, and thoughts where you've been in places which are really nice, and take yourself into those places and imagine you're there, and look at all the picture and the colour and the sounds and the smells and the tastes, and take yourself somewhere which makes you less anxious, and to start thinking about running water. And I always say think of Niagara Falls, so you think of rushing water, and that will help you to let down your milk, to release oxytocin, which is very, very shy, very, very shy and very sensitive. And if it's something you haven't done before and you're feeling it's just a bit weird because you're pregnant and you're expressing your breast for the first time, it might be that you don't get very much. Most people don't get very much in the antenatal period. Some will, some get lots. We will always hear stories of mums that get lots and lots, but it's not normal to get lots and lots. It's more normal to get tiny little amounts of 0.1, 0.2 mils.
2 mils is very good.
2 mils is a huge amount. So, but whatever is comfortable, we'd say express maybe 4 times a day with your fingers, with hand expressing. So, just be careful if you're having lots of, presumably you're over 37 weeks, but if you're having lots of breasts and hips, if you're doing it, then just pull back a bit. You don't want to go into labour unnecessarily. If you're ready to go, you'll go.
Yeah.
But don't do it before 37 weeks either.
No.
All right, Anisha, I hope that works well. But
have a try.
Yeah.
Come back to us and tell us if you're doing it while you're watching us.
Olivia's come back and said thanks. Shamaraya has come on saying, hi, my little girl is 6 months old. She's not asleep through the night when I feed her for the last feed at 8 p.m. Am I not making enough at night to last her? She feeds 2 to 3 times at night still. Their dream feeds there. It's very, very common for babies to be feeding at night still at 6 months of age and a lot older. They are neither physically nor mentally ready to go long periods of time without that
food, either food or that closeness and comfort with you. So it is really common. And when we talk about sleeping through the night, we don't expect it to be a 12-hour stretch. You know, if a baby sleeps 4 and 5 and 6, that's really good. So, you know, if she's going down at 8, you know, we would be expecting her to have feeds after that too. It's really, really normal.
It's unusual for a baby at 6 months to sleep through the night till the morning. It is unusual if they're breastfed, because the breast milk isn't delivered in the same way. They get small, little and often feeds. You know, that's how babies manage to keep their conscious levels up, and it's protective against sudden infant death syndrome. So, you know, they're very lightly asleep, and they hear their parents breathing, and you hear your baby breathing. So if you give your baby a very big feed, and you know, you want to give them lots of food to make them sleep through the night, they go into such a deep sleep that they don't hear you in the same way, and so they go into a very deep sleep, and sometimes, you know, unfortunately babies don't wake up. So we say little and often is really, really safe for babies, and they learn to listen into their environment, which is why we say keep your babies in your room with you, so that you can hear them breathing and they can hear you breathing, and it's reciprocal. So, you know, they don't have the brain maturity to do it, and the more you feed your baby, the more you're growing the baby's brain, that closeness and that comfort. And if you have a secure baby, you'll have a secure toddler and a secure child and a secure adult. And so, you know, it's all about the whole picture, not just about giving them calories. And you know, if you ask a mother in Africa how many times she fed her baby at night, she'll say, "What do you mean?" If you ask a lady in New York about how many times she fed her baby in the night, she'll tell you minute by minute how many times they fed, because her expectation in New York is that her baby will sleep through the night. And in Africa, culturally, babies will be suckling all night with their parents. They have a different way of managing their babies, which we don't in our countries because of you know, the SIDS rules that we have and the risks that we have in this country. So I think it's very, very difficult for parents to get the right balance, but it is very important that you understand why babies need to just have frequent feeds, little and often. It's not
an accident that human milk is digested by the baby's gut quickly, and it is a protective measure to make sure those babies do not go into a really deep sleep, like Naomi is saying. And that's why breastfeeding is protective against cot death, sudden infant death. So it is normal for babies to be still waking. It is
giving into their second year, and their third year.
Yeah, so you can ask many parents, I'm sure, who will tell you that their children still wake quite a lot older than this. And sometimes you get to the point where they don't need a feed, but they just need your reassurance. But at 6 months, they still will benefit from the food that you're giving them.
There's a great book by Lindsay Hookway, who is a health visitor, lactation consultant, and that's her speciality, is about infant sleep and breastfeeding. And very, very interesting book. I think it came out last year or the year before. And so you might find that very helpful. I can't remember what it's called, but it's Lindsay Hookway. And she's got all sorts of really interesting information in that book about infant sleep.
We've been lucky enough to hear her talk.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting.
So you'll find it easily, because there's not many people called Hookway, so it's quite an unusual surname.
But it's all about infant sleep. So it's very recent. And the other one is ISIS. No, it's not ISIS anymore. It's BASIS now. They've changed the name, and that's with Helen Ball, Dr. Helen Ball at Durham University, and she's an anthropologist that's studied infant sleep for about 35 years now. And she's done a lot of stuff on her website. So if you go to the BASIS website, and you can find lots and lots of information about infant sleep and the expectation of what babies do, you might find that very helpful as well, and reassuring.
Yeah, good luck with that. I know it's hard work when you're still being woken up.
And actually, if you go onto your care plan, if you're still under our care, there is a link, QR code on the front of your care plan, which you can link to, right on the front page.
It links to all our leaflets, and you can search through the leaflets and find the one about sleep. So, no, not there. But she won't have a care plan because
your baby's 6 months old. But for those of you that are listening with care plans, or you're about to have your baby, there is a QR code that you can put in, and it will link you to all of those things that we've just talked about.
All our leaflets.
We've got one, haven't we?
No, it doesn't look like it. I've got loads in the office. That's really silly of us. Anyway, okay, Mariah, I hope that's okay. I hope that's a reasonable answer. Not what you were hoping for, I'm sure.
So, oh no, of course your baby should be sleeping through
No,
the
sadly
night.
not
No,
at this age.
We would never expect it to.
Josie said, hello, are there any NHS antenatal classes in Oxfordshire I can join? I'm due in November. Now, the community teams are beginning to start. Some of them are beginning to start some antenatal classes. So it's very dependent on where you are, because it depends on how many, how they are staff-wise, whether they can restart them or not. So the best people to ask are going to be your local community midwife. So have a chat with them and see what's being provided. Now remember that we have videos on the hospital website, so you can link to it from our page. So you go on the hospital website, you go onto the infant feeding page, and then there's a section called resources, and there's a link to the maternity playlist, which is 7 videos which cover positioning and attachment, skin to skin, responsiveness and relationship building,
And expressing.
pumping, and feeding with a bottle. And we've got
Do you know
one.
if your baby's got enough
That was
milk?
it, the most important one. How do you know baby's getting enough milk? So that's the 7 that we've got up there. So they are there because we are aware that there aren't many antenatal provisions out there for you. So they're there as part of that. So you can watch our videos. Don't judge us. We're not going to win any Oscars.
Our beautiful faces as always.
Yeah, but it's a bit that it was quite a challenge. We're not
We're a
meant
bit
to.
like wooden tops.
Yeah, so we did our best.
Rabbits with lights in our eyes,
Yeah,
aren't we?
we did our best. So anyway, yeah, and actually there's quite a lot out there. If you start searching for antenatal stuff, there are quite a lot of the trusts that are doing stuff. And watch this space, because we're hoping to get something done ourselves. So
We'll let you know.
yeah, so check with your community team then, Josie. Laurie Betty has said, hi ladies, my little girl is 7 months old. We started solids but not sure how much and how often. I believe that food under 1 is just for fun. Is it? Yes, absolutely.
Totally.
What's your professional advice? Breastfeeding normally currently, and would love to carry on as much as possible. I'm afraid if I introduce solids properly, she would not want to breastfeed. Oh, she will.
Always give her
will.
breastfeed first. Always feed first at the breasts and then offer her food to pick at afterwards, so that she gets the calories from your breast milk.
So that fits in with the food before 1 is just for fun, which is absolutely spot on. You must have heard it here. That came from Hannah, who is our colleague who's on maternity leave at the moment. So what you're going to, the main source of calories for your baby for the first year is always going to be your milk. Any additional foods are additional, they're complementary. Your milk is first and foremost, and then so it shouldn't interrupt the feeding. And we know so many mothers who will carry on into the first year and beyond for as long as you want to, you and your baby.
They rarely self-wean before their 3rd year, so after their 2nd birthday. Most babies will keep going.
They love it.
They do, absolutely, and it's all about their development and security and their brain growth, and if they're secure as babies, they will be secure as adults.
Yeah.
And that's so important to get across. The time that you spend feeding your baby is a minuscule dot in your lifetime. It feels forever at the time, but it's for a minuscule amount of time. And
we can say that with experience, because we've both been there, both
grown-up
babies
babies and both breastfed them. Yeah. So we know what it does for them and the benefits. But we know that first feed in the first hour, in the first bit of their life, is the one that determines their health for when they're older. So if you give them a skin to skin and that early feed, that determines your baby's life, and their health and all the things that are beneficial. So diabetes, obesity, heart disease, cancers, everything for when they're 75 and before and after. So it's really important to start that journey and to keep it. And it's very mutual and very personal between you and your children, and nobody's there to judge you. But I think there's a lot of people that don't tell that they're breastfeeding beyond 1 because they feel embarrassed. But it's very personal. It's a very personal journey that you and only your family is entitled to be judgmental on. So it's normal. Whatever happens is normal.
La Leche certainly used to run a group for mothers who were feeding older children, because it is amazing how many people are out there feeding older children, but they won't talk about it. But you will find other like-minded people if you do end up feeding an older child. Charlotte has come on and said, If my first baby Alicia had a von twos, will that stop me having a water birth for my second, as I really want to have a water birth for my second? No.
You had a vaginal birth.
Yes, it was assisted, but it was a vaginal birth, and that's brilliant, you know, from that point of view. So we know your body's able to do it. She might have needed a little bit of a hand, but probably the second one won't. So
I think talk to your midwife about it.
yeah,
Have a lovely chat with your midwife about it. As each time you go to your antenatal classes, have a little chat with your midwife about it, and just talk a little bit more each time and build up, you know, the confidence that you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
We would assume that you'll have a nice normal delivery again.
Absolutely. Yeah, your baby came out that way, maybe with a bit of help, but there's no reason why the next one wouldn't.
The muscles are sometimes a bit tighter and you're a bit tireder with the first baby, and so they've done it before, the muscle memory is there. You'll be surprised. You'll be fine.
Michelle has said, thanks ladies, no massive rush to do the bottle, but my husband really wants to be involved. We'll try slowly and see. Yeah, I think that's probably a really good idea. So good luck with it.
Perhaps get him to take her shopping instead so you can have a lie-in. Oops, have I said the wrong thing? He can do lots of other things. And then, you know, when you start solids, he can do the feeding with the solids if that's what you want to do. He can have the fun before one, and you can do the feed. But, you know, don't hurry these things.
They pass so quickly. I know it doesn't feel like it for you, but they do.
I did say to somebody on the phone earlier this week, just think how quickly lockdown's gone in 16 months. I think her baby was 14 months, and she said, oh, it's felt a very long time for me, but actually in lockdown terms, you know, it's gone very, very quickly in 16 months that we've been in this pandemic, you know, and it feels just a minute really. So think of it outside of babies and things, and how life passes by very, very quickly, and that you're, you know, 3 months you're halfway there to weaning, and that's a huge feat that you've done. Really amazing.
Right, Lauren has said, hi ladies, currently recovering from my 4th C-section 2 weeks ago. All's going well with me and the baby's exclusive breastfeeding. Only issue we have is not being able to get wind up. She is very squirmy when I lay her down and gets hiccups all the time. Occasionally gagging too, but no sickness. Very rare to get a burp out of her.
Comes out the other end.
Yeah, and she's quite uncomfortable. It tends to come out the bottom, yeah, but much later. Any tips? She's my smallest at 6'11". I struggle to get her up on my shoulder.
I think revisit your positioning and attachment. It's your 4th baby, and you've presumably fed 3 other babies, and quite often one of the things that mums that have had subsequent babies have had babies before, when they have their newborn, they remember how they finished feeding their baby, and so go back to basics with it. Make sure that she's really able to attach well. She's in the contours of your body. She's underneath the breast, so she can lift her chin up and come up to the breast really well. That she's you know, attaching with a really big deep latch, and you know, able to get enough milk so that she gets the right mix of milk. And that might just be you know, the most important thing, that it's nothing you're doing. It could be that she's just not quite getting the right mix of milk, and that slightly deeper attachment or moving a couple of millimeters might make a big difference. So, you know, get somebody to check your positioning. Have a look at you know, some websites with positioning and attachment. Have we got our little video, a little booklet with positioning? We brought it.
Should be at the bottom.
It's all mixed up.
I know, it's
Happens
not
when
very
we have
tidy.
2 weeks off.
Gremlins got in our box.
See if I can find our pictures that we give you on positioning. Here it is. So it's about making sure that you line your baby up perfectly. So it's that lining up with the nose to the nipple. That's really important, that that's where you start, so that the nose is opposite the nipple and the chin is right underneath the breast there. And then when the head goes back, like that, the breast is lined up in the right place, and the nipple is just literally skimming the gum ridge inside your baby's mouth, literally, and the baby's gape is really underneath the breast and the chin is leading, so that they take a really big scoop of milk, of breast into their mouth, so that they are really getting the milk from underneath the breast right down here rather than in the middle, or even like that. You know, some babies, they are coming onto the breast nose first. So let me if I can do this way. Can you see? So some babies are like that, so they're across mum that way. So if you see, they're quite a long way away, and what you need to do is bring them right back into the contours. Can you see that on your screen in the right place, Alex? On your screen.
A bit lower.
Don't know what it's like on
No,
there. Like that, so that they're right into the contours and tucked right into your body, so that their nose is free and they're coming up. So you don't want to be like that. You want to be like that. So think about leading with the chin and the nose sniffing the air, so that you're getting a really good deep latch from underneath, so that you can really get that positioning right. And revisit it. Just revisit it all the time. Get someone to take a photograph of what you're doing, so you can look at yourself feeding. Quite often, if you look at videos on feeding, it's somebody else's breast. It's always somebody else's breast and somebody else's baby, and that might not be what you need to do. So have a look at what you're doing. That's a different picture of it, so that you can just see that there's a real bend of the neck back, you know, and the nipples just skimming the gum ridge, so that they just literally go into right to the top of the back of the roof of the mouth. And imagine that your baby's the nipple is going right up to the baby's nose, right into the nose space at the top of the palate. You know, you're aiming up, and I think a lot of people aim down with their babies. You know, they put the nipple down like that onto the tongue when they're breastfeeding, and it's the opposite. You need to be putting your baby up.
Absolutely.
You don't need to be putting your baby down onto the tongue. So if this is your mouth, a lot of people do that and put the nipple onto their tongue, baby's tongue, and actually what you need to do is that, and the breast is then able to be milked by the tongue. But if you're doing that, they're not going to be on the breast correctly, and you will be sore, or your baby will be feeding frequently and get maybe the wrong mix of milk. So what we say is lactose-lactase imbalance. So they get lots of lactose, which is the sugary, wonderful milk that you have in your breast, which puts on lots of weight, but they don't get full. So they need chocolate pudding as well. So you need to be able to get the fat out of the breast as well. So they need to be able to milk the breast correctly, so that they get what they need to feel satisfied, and to stop that gas and the byproduct of the lactase and lactose imbalance. So the lactase is a hormone in your an enzyme in your tummy, the baby's tummy, can't break down the lactose because there's too much, and so the byproduct of that is hydrogen peroxide, which is really fizzy. So you have hydrochloric acid in your baby. The baby has hydrochloric acid in its tummy. That's normal. They have acid in their tummy, but this is like fizzy. So it creates this uncomfortable, gassy, explosive poos, lots of windy bottoms and unhappy babies. And sometimes you just need to tweak your positioning, and that resolves it. So you really look at your positioning first, and if you're not sure, go to get some breastfeeding support, so that someone can watch what you're doing and just tweak what your baby's doing, and see if you can improve your attachment, because that might be all you need to do. That was a long answer, wasn't it?
It's all right.
It's always a long answer with us. We have so much to say.
I said that right at the beginning, so if you could talk for ages. I'm just trying to find
We're a bit nerdy.
Where I was.
I say
that was Lauren.
Often, don't I?
Yeah, that's right. That's Laura. So that was Lauren's question you've just answered. Sophie has come on, so thanks very much. I'll give that a go. Great. Well done, Sophie. Let us know how you get on. Charlotte says Alicia's just woken up and is waving at the screen. So this is a few minutes ago, but we'll wave now. Hello, hello, Charlotte. Hello, Alicia. Vanessa said, thank you so much. I'll try hand expressing again tonight with this technique. I've been stressed a lot lately with a house move, so that could be it as well. Absolutely.
Nearly always going to be oxytocin.
How many people move when they're having a baby? I can't tell you. I've done it.
It's that
twice.
panic of getting everything perfect before your baby comes, isn't it?
Just ridiculous. It's just why we do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
Good luck with that, and good luck with the move.
Yeah.
Philippa has said, hello ladies, just wanted to thank you for your help. I started watching you both shortly after giving birth to my son Theo, and your advice helped me a lot, especially in those early months. Please continue doing these videos, as you're really helping.
That's nice to hear.
Helping us. It's a nice flower.
Thank
you.
Nice.
It's nice
Thank
to know
you.
that you are finding them helpful.
Yeah.
So,
we
thank
do
you.
like doing it too.
Yeah, we quite enjoy it. So it's much more fun doing it as a two. So I find it's much less. It's definitely much less fun on my own. It's a bit of banter when there's two of us. Leanne, hello Leanne, has said, hi both, hope you're both well. Lyra is about 15 weeks.
Wow.
There is already 15 weeks, can't believe that. She's sleeping longer at nights, 5 to 6 hours. So when I wake, I have a very hard, painful breast. Will this damage my supply? I always pump and feed to empty both breasts when we wake up. Is that enough to sustain my supply, or do I need to set an alarm to wake earlier?
That's how long she's been doing it for.
Yeah.
If it's been like that for ages, it it should be settling down. If it's just recently, it will settle down probably. It should settle. The supply should settle. But if you're resting more, you're more relaxed. You will keep producing plenty of milk, and as long as everything else is all right, it's fine. Yes, it's really uncomfortable to feel that full, isn't it? But I think if everything else is normal, then don't worry. But it should dampen down a little bit. So hopefully that's the right answer. It should
Yeah.
dampen down, but it depends how long you've been going that long for at night.
And maybe you could just, I don't know how much you're having to do with, I can't remember how you've got on with feeding recently, because obviously it's a while since we've seen you. But if that's meaning that if you're still doing some expressing, then maybe just put another one in the day, just to make up for it. We want you to get as much sleep as possible, because you will feel better for it though. But congratulations to you and her for being 15 weeks. That's amazing.
Very, very good.
Louisa said, how many people can come into the birthing room? Just one. So all visiting is just one person. The times on the wards have extended. They're longer than they were. It's not just 1 hour, but it is still just one person with you. I don't believe that's changed at all. The best person to ask will be your community midwife though, just to check what's happening. But as far as I'm aware, everybody is just one visitor, regardless of where they are, what part, where they are in the process of birth.
You can find the information on our Women's Centre website. They will tell you precisely what you're able to do, and also check with your midwives, because they do change. Things have changed over the year and may change again. So just check with your midwife when you see her, or you can ring and ask them when you're coming into labour. They'll tell you what's happening there. But it should be on their website as well, on the Women's Centre website.
Josie said thank you for our answer to her, and Laurie Betty has come back with thank you so much as well about her solids. Louise said, hi both, what shall the mother do if she really wants to breastfeed but can't latch? Get help.
Protect your supply. While you're getting help, protect your supply. You don't say where you're living, but if you're in Oxfordshire, there's a lot of support. So how old? Doesn't say. Depends on how old you are. If you're under 6 weeks, then you can access our services. If you are under the care of your midwives, you can access your midwife services. So that's normally for up to 2 weeks, a little bit more, a little bit less. And after that, the health visitors will support you. That's your primary carer in the community, and also the local charities. So the Baby Cafe in Abingdon, Oxfordshire Breastfeeding Support, and La Leche are great sources of support, plus the NCT breastfeeding support. So there's lots, and us of course, but I did say that.
Yeah.
6 weeks.
And us.
Up to 6 weeks. So you can call and see any of these people if it's time appropriate. So use the services local to you first, because that's much easier to access locally rather than having to travel in your car anywhere. And then, but you can call as well. You can have a telephone conversation too with probably all of those people to get support without even having to come out of your home. So don't struggle. If your baby's not attaching, get some help.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you're having midwife visits still, time your midwife visit with a feed so that they can help you feed when they visit you.
Absolutely.
Or when you visit them, time it with a feed. So when they ring and offer an appointment, then try and time that feed to work for you so that you can get maximum help from them.
So things that we always say to people are, if it's the early days, or at any point really, skin-to-skin contact, spend as much time skin-to-skin as you can. Baby's much more likely to attach at the breast if they're in skin-to-skin than if they're in a cot by the bedside or wrapped up in clothes. So they're much more likely to try. As Naomi's mentioned, ensure that you maintain your milk supply, because your milk supply is the time critical part of this. You have a window of a couple of weeks to really push your milk supply after the baby is born. And actually a baby can continue to learn for many weeks afterwards, and we have many babies that will learn how to breastfeed long after that 2-week period. So the key thing is to give that baby every opportunity to feed that they can skin to skin, maintain your milk supply, and sort of
not give up hope, ask for help.
I've said this many times on here, but I did get a call a few years ago from a mum who'd struggled and struggled, and her baby had fed once on a nipple shield and never again, and she rang and said at 9 months her baby had its first breastfeed. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, it's very extreme, but her baby had its first breastfeed at 9 months, and she pumped for 9 months to give her baby breast milk, and it went onto the breast and suckled, and she was so delighted. So I'm not going to say that's going to happen to you at all. Most babies do attach within the first couple of weeks of being born, so hopefully that will happen for you, and if you get the right support. So keep going, protect your supply.
Lauren's added a bit more on from her question earlier. Her little one is 2 weeks old, seems to only have an awake window of about 20 minutes. I find she's getting overtired after that. She finds the noise in the house quite overwhelming. I have a partner and 3 other children, so I can't be with her all the time, especially in the evenings with dinner and bed routines. I find once she's overtired, it can then take me hours to settle her. She just wants to feed on me, on and off every few minutes, but gets very frustrated. It also means I'm stuck to one room trying to calm her in a quiet room. She'll only settle on me day and night. I'm just a bit worried about how it'll be when I'm on my own next week with a 9, 6 and 2.5-year-old and a breastfeeding newborn. Wow, Lauren, that is tough.
Have you got a sling? That might help a little bit. If you have, you can have hands free and carry her in a sling. She might feel that she's with you, but you're not having to hold her. And I think just try and manage it. Do what you can and make sure you're getting enough calories into your baby. I think that's a really big thing when you've got lots of stuff going on in your life. Your baby comes on and off the breast all the time, and they never get a full feed. So I think whether you can have quiet time with your children, where you actually all get a chance to sit down or do activities together, or whether they can have video or something when you're resting, so that you can at least get some good feeds in during the day, that might help.
Timing's not great, is it, you poor thing? Because obviously you're going to be on your own straight into the holidays when you've got the 9 and 6-year-olds at home. That's going to be hard. I do think a sling would be a really good idea, and you might find she's able to cut off in that position because she's right up against you. She might, because you said that she's a bit overpowered by everything else going on in the house, but just being in there close up against you might really help. We're talking about the sort of slings like the wrap-round slings, and even one of those ones where she's literally snuggled in right next to you,
really close.
And it leaves your arms free to do other things. You've got those other 3, and I'm sure the 2.5-year-old takes a lot of your time. 9 and 6 can be a little bit more independent. They need you a lot more mentally, but less physically. But your 2.5-year-old, I'm sure you're constantly running after. And if you haven't tried a sling before, have a look and see about the sling library. I believe they're up and running again, and they are so fantastic because they will find a sling that works for you. And the deal is that you can try a few out and see. Obviously, I'm not sure how that's worked with COVID, but normally you would be able to try one and see what works for you. But a sling might really be quite handy for you because she might find that really being in close is enough for her to be able to block out everything else that's going on. But I really feel for you. That's really tough. Good luck with it.
And talk to somebody. Just get some support emotionally if you can. If you've got friends and family that can support you a little bit.
Maybe take the 9 and 6-year-old out on play dates if nothing else. Emma says, I'm due in October with my first and want to learn more on feeding and sleep, so thank you for today. I'll take a look at your book recommendation, but can you please repeat where I can find the 7 videos you mentioned? So if you go onto the OUH website, so literally type in OUH maternity infant feeding, so OUH maternity infant feeding, just type that in as a Google search. It will come up with our page, and you can then scroll down and you'll find this section called resources. It's on the first page, and then it's called maternity playlist, and it's a link. To click on that link and it'll take you to Facebook. No, it'll take you to YouTube even. It'll take you to YouTube, and you can have a look there, and the 7 videos are there.
but also you can go and do searches online. There are lots around. So for instance, Royal Berkshire have done some as well. A lot of the hospitals have done them because we've all been forced to because of not being able to access people directly. But so ours are there on OUH, maternity, infant feeding. You'll find them there. So good luck with that, Emma, and keep watching. We'll keep you. We can put all your questions on here. Charlotte, Charlotte said Alicia is sleeping through the night now. Days, but when she has teething, she wakes up 1 to 2 times at night. That's quite common, Charlotte. She's not that old, is she? So it's really common that children wake up. So I hope her teething goes smoothly for you.
Can be World War III, can't it?
So Chantal has answered Louise's question, and she said, have you joined Oxfordshire Breastfeeding Support on Facebook? They offer one-to-one appointments online and in person now. Absolutely. Well done, Chantal. Thank you for putting that up there. That's a definite suggestion for Louise. Shamaraya said, thank you. I will try the book, and at least I feel a little better as I have mother-in-law telling me she should be this is my second girl and didn't get this far breastfeeding last time. Well done, and keep going. And she's very, very normal with what she's doing, Shamaraya. So keep going. And it is difficult when you're getting told different things.
Yeah.
You know, we are UNICEF trained. That's UNICEF, you know, the organisation you know of, and they have a very baby-friendly arm. So we are trained by UNICEF, and we keep ourselves up to date on research and evidence-based information. So what we do say does come from an evidence base. So it is known that babies at this age are not expected to sleep through. So your baby is being perfectly normal. Doesn't always fit.
And
with
we
what
do
people
talk
think.
about you know, maintaining your milk supply, and you know, it stops periods coming back and things if you have less than 6 hours between feeds. So you know, it has lots of protective things for you. It's, you know, a form of contraception before 6 months if your baby's not going for more than 6 hours and you're not putting anything other than your breast in your baby's mouth, so no bottles, no dummies, no nipple shields, nothing, but also, you know, that they maintain the milk supply, and so babies feed much more frequently than waiting 6 hours between feeds at that age. It's unusual for babies to go beyond 6 hours in one session at night. You know, that's not the normal. Some babies will do it, and you can't wake them up if they won't wake up, and if they're gaining weight. I mean, I've had mums that have had babies only feeding 4 times in 24 hours and putting a pound on a week. You know, there's no rules in this game. Babies do what they do, but it's really important that you understand that most babies don't go for more than 6 hours. Usually it's 4 hours, maybe maximum 5 when they're the age that your baby's at. But 6 hours, you know, it's quite a long time without feed. It's a quarter of their feeding time. So they've got to get their calories in somehow.
So she's followed it up, you see. She said, and also because my daughter had my milk in a bottle and slept through with her when we had a wedding. The thing is about it's so much more than just food. You know, and actually in a bottle she may have taken an awful lot more than she would have taken at the breast, and that isn't necessarily a good thing. So, you know, and also if she knows you're not there, she'd worked out you weren't there, what she was going to be probably thinking, why would I wake up? Because I want my mummy. So just remember, you're doing a brilliant job. Emmy's come on and said, hope you're both well. I hope you and Leo are both well, Emmy. Lovely to hear from you. Hope things are going well with you. Leanna said, thank you. She's having 200ml top up of high cal formula a day and responsibly breastfeeding throughout the day. It's been a week or 2, so I'll wait for it to settle down. Yeah, I just don't want your supply to go down, Leanne. I know you work really, really hard to get your supply up, and I don't want it to drop. So, you know, do be cautious about going too long. And if you're comfortable setting an alarm, maybe set an alarm. Becky has said, I'm due at the end of August. We saw you in the JR last May with my little girl who had to come in for jaundice treatment. I want to do everything possible to avoid jaundice again, hopefully this time. What can I do? Little girl will be 16 months when new babe arrives. Whoa, you're going to have your hands full too. And still feeding, so oops, bear with me, it's just jumped. To find where I was. I will be able to harvest colostrum, so I don't think I'll be able to harvest colostrum. You will be able to, because your milk go back to colostrum, so you will be able to do that.
Can I pump and store the milk I currently have to supplement if required? Also, is it possible to see you breastfeeding support before leaving the JR to check newborn's latch, etc.? Want to make sure I'm not lazy as used to feeding a toddler now, or is this only something you can access when extra help is needed? Right, where do we start?
Well, I think that, you know, just assume that everything will be all right this time, that your first baby isn't your second baby, and you know, you might find that you've got the skill, you're much more competent as a mother, you're not frightened of your baby this time, not that you were frightened before, but you know, you're worried about handling it, you've got so many skills you've got to learn when you have your first baby that you've already got in place when you have your second. And you know, remember what we taught you and what the midwives taught you last time with your skills, and apply them and get lots of help early. I think that's the most important thing, and protect your supply so that you have lots of milk.
And with regard to going to the colostrum, yes, you will have colostrum, because even if you are feeding another child, what will happen is your milk reverts to colostrum. So sometimes that's when mums who are still feeding an older child, when they're pregnant with the next, find the baby decides they don't want, the older one decides they don't want to feed anymore, which some do and some don't. But what some of the toddlers will do is say, well, it tastes different, mummy, and they don't want to carry on feeding.
It's quite salty again.
Yeah, it changes. So you will have colostrum. It will go back to colostrum once that baby, you know, when that baby's coming. So, so you can do colostrum harvesting for that for your baby. So, do by all means, and it probably is still better to do it by hand at that stage rather than a pump. And then you can have some to bring in with you, so you've got something to give. Because as I'm sure you're aware, the best thing you can be doing for your baby to prevent jaundice is lots and lots of feeding, because that washes out that bilirubin from the gut and means it's not reabsorbed, and the baby's less likely to be jaundiced. And the other thing about it being a second baby, the likelihood is your milk will come in sooner. Comes in soon.
Since you've fed, so.
Yeah, exactly. So your mature milk will come in sooner, so there'll be bigger volumes quicker.
Yeah.
And you tend to have more milk than you had the first time round. So all of these things will help protect this next baby from jaundice.
But we'd expect you to have fantastic skills.
Yeah.
So, you know, you'll do it right and get help.
We will, you know, we are around on the wards, so you can always say to the member of staff, whoever's looking after, whichever midwife's looking after you, if you stay in, that we're here, that you're there, and that you saw us last time, and could someone come and say a quick hello. If we can, we will, but I'm not going to promise, because it depends what else we've got going on. If it's today, like today, a Thursday, it's a clinic day, we really struggle to get up onto the wards on a clinic day, because I've been in clinic since 9 o'clock until nearly 2 o'clock, and then we're doing this, so you know, we struggle to get to the wards, but we will try and come and see you. And what you need to say to the midwife is that I met them last time, please can I have a quick word with them again, because we'll know that you had problems last time then, and you needed a bit more support, and that'll be the key to it. So, not wishing to give away the secrets. Lauren has said, thank you very much, I do have a wrap sling. Haven't tried one before, but we'll have a look at it now. I find during the day and while I'm covering from C-section, we've just been together in bed, and feeding and resting. Now I'm up and about a bit more and want to be part of the family downstairs again. Baby's finding the new sounds all too much. She's some really good feeds during the day, but once she's overtired, she can't decide what she wants. The only thing that calms her will be a walk or a bath, but all depends what else is happening in the house at the time with the others. My partner's been a star and done everything else. I just need to start getting into a routine now before he goes back to work. We'll try the sling. It's just
skin as well.
Yeah, and it meets your baby's needs for closeness and comfort. It might just be that reassurance your baby needs, and they'll be fine. Charlotte has come on saying, Alicia's looking forward to having either a little brother or sister. Also, I want to ask this question, but it might be silly, but I suffer with hay and some years it can be bad, but now I'm pregnant. So is there anything I can take, as I don't want to hurt the baby?
I think check with your pharmacist.
Yeah.
Check with your pharmacist, go to the pharmacy and check what you can have. Or have a conversation with the GP. They may have a telephone consultation if you're pregnant, having knowledge of your history.
And the other place you can have a look is the Breastfeeding Network. So Charlotte, if you go and do a Google search, put Breastfeeding Network, and then you go into their drugs information, and there is a whole leaflet on hay fever and which medications you can take and which ones you can't. So even quicker than speaking to your GP, you can just do that, and the information will be all there for you.
But that tends to be for breastfeeding more, doesn't it?
It does, so, that's true, I forgot that, sorry, you're right.
So just remember if you're pregnant, some of them
slightly
are
different.
Slightly the same.
Sorry.
So check with your pharmacist and or your GP, or your midwife might know, but I'd say pharmacist or GP, and they will. Pharmacist probably will be the most accurate, and you could just go into any pharmacy and have a conversation with them about pregnancy and antihistamine medication.
For anybody else who is thinking about medications, Emma's come up. She says, I have hay fever too and have been advised to use a gel spray from the chemist. The pharmacist helped.
Yeah.
Fabulous. And for anyone who's had their babies and is already is feeding their babies, the Breastfeeding Network is the most fantastic resource. It is specifically for women who are feeding their babies, not for pregnancy. So have a look at that. It's absolutely brilliant. She's Dr. Wendy Jones from the Breastfeeding Network is fabulous, and we couldn't do without her resources.
A lot of work in breastfeeding.
Emma, thank you for replying to that too. That's really helpful. I think we're there, ladies and gentlemen. It's nearly.
We've had lots of questions,
it's nearly 10 to. That shows what happens.
Really?
Yeah, nearly 10 to. So
that's when we have
2 weeks off.
You've saved all your questions up for us.
Well, I was on my holiday, so. Anyway, thank you very, very much to one and all, and I hope those problems that you've had are resolved. And Lauren, I hope things go well. Aunt Louise has come back and said thank you so much. Well, thank you to all of you too.
Keep making milk.
Yeah, keep going. And those that haven't had your babies yet, go and access all the resources. Yeah. And if you come across things you don't really get, come back to us and ask us the questions. So. Charlotte's told us we're amazing NHS heroes. And on that note, I think we'll say
time
goodbye.
Time to go before we knock our crowns off. Bye bye, have a good week.